path is clear apparently for Terence Crawford and Errol the Truth Spence Jr. to finally meet and settle the argument of whom is the better fighter and who will reign as undisputed king at 147 pounds. October is the month that has been earmarked, and it would seem that there aren't really any obstacles that should get in the way of making this fight happen. Crawford is a free agent since his split with Bob Arum, and PBC, along with fight and media affiliates, stand to rake in large sums of pay-per-view and gate money from a fight that not just real boxing fans, media pundits and fighters worldwide have been asking for and debating for many years, but I think even the casual boxing fans will tune in to watch. Moreover, there would no doubt be a rematch clause, and this could even possibly extend to a trilogy fight. Both Crawford and Spence are asking for the fight, and really at 147 there isn't another fight that fans want to see either of these guys take right now. Jamal Charlo and Crawford has some interest, but if you ask me, it's long overdue that Crawford and Spence should meet, and the prospect of embarking on new campaigns in a higher weight division before settling the question of unified undisputed champion in a division that both fighters have operated in for some time and are still comfortable in would be massively disappointing. Frankly, fight hyping and build-ups that lead nowhere is an old boxing trope that boxing fans have had to endure far too long. Fact is, the time is now, so let's get it done. The question is, how will it go down? Which fighter can make the more effective in defining in-fight adjustments? Which fighter is more versatile? Who has the better ring IQ, skills, and overall ability to take the W on the night? Let's break it down from my perspective, and you can tell me what you think in the comments section. Fans from either camp staunchly defend their guy, and the debates are always lively, so I'm interested in hearing what you think. Las Vegas is set to be the venue for the showdown between the number 1 and 2 ranked welterweights, and Ring Magazine pound for pound lists number 3 and 4 at the time of uploading this. So given this fight might take place in the gambling mecca of the world, I wonder how the bookies will have it. Offensive and defensive movement by both fighters highlights their boxing philosophy and approach. Offensively, both fighters close the space down on their targets effectively and know how to cut off the ring. However, the pressure is applied differently. Errol ultimately tries to box you in and put his head on your chest, forcing you to exchange in close range, and in doing so, Spence makes himself available to get hit, whereas Crawford tends to fight from mid-range, leaving some space where he looks to time and counter you. This requires more patience and is a more reactive style to that of Spence. Defensive movements of both fighters are similar in terms of counter-striking, where both Crawford and Spence anticipate and time incoming shots well, but again, Crawford has more of an emphasis on sliding out and using angles to get distance between him and a fighter, where Spence often allows himself to be backed up, where he then stands and trades. The approach of each fighter, of course, depends on the fighting style of the opponent, and there is a lot of crossover for both fighters in terms of their offensive and defensive movement. Like, both can brawl, but I feel Spence is more comfortable fighting on the inside, and both fighters control range and distance well when attacking or retreating. But I think this is where Crawford has a better spatial awareness and understanding of where he needs to be positioned in the ring. Both guys carry power, and their records show this. Crawford has all but 9 KO victories in his 38 pro bout wins, and Spence all but 6 in his 28 professional bouts. But when you look closer, it becomes interesting when you consider who either fighter has KO or TKO victories over. Spence Jr has stopped many fighters, but these are guys who have been down multiple times in their careers with suspect chins, if you want to put it that way. Chris Algieri, or his last opponent, Yordenis Ugas. He took Kell Brook out late when the two faced, but this was a damaged goods Kell Brook, who had his orbital bone smashed up in his last bout against a much bigger and stronger Gennady Golovkin before facing Spence. Against sturdier opponents like Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, and Mikey Garcia, for example, Spence got over the line, but on points. It's true he put Porter down late in the match, but Spence was pushed to his limit in that fight also. Conversely, Crawford dropped Porter twice before Kenny Porter had seen enough and called it quits for his son. The scary part is how dominant Crawford suddenly became in that fight when he was told he was behind on points. It's as if he flipped a switch and then suddenly put it on Porter. Crawford also took out Velasquez, who had never touched the canvas before meeting Bud. Jose Benavidez Jr., same deal before meeting Bud. And he took out both Kell Brook, yes, an even more broken Kell Brook by then, and a rough and tumble Jeff Horn, who had tasted the canvas prior, but never lost by KO before and was considered a durable guy. In terms of shot selection, both fighters throw a variety of creative punches and both operate behind their jabs, sticking to the fundamentals. Spence, in my eye, tends to be more voluminous with his punches, and Crawford mixes it up, often switching stances, which gives his opponent different looks. They're about even when it comes to speed, accuracy, and picking the right punch to throw, but I don't know if it's raw power, timing, leverage, or punch placement, but my observation is that Crawford looks like he has slightly more venom in his punch, despite Spence being the physically bigger guy. Ring IQ and psychology is an interesting aspect of both fighters, and in terms of psychology, it's the contrast in night and day with both personalities. Spence tends to be a little more low-key and quietly confident, whereas Crawford is very vocal and has more of a confrontational personality. They say be aware of the quiet ones, but you probably shouldn't take your eyes off the guy that's always looking for a fight either. Both guys have been calling each other out and accusing the other of ducking, but it looks like things will finally go ahead, and I don't see either backing down. Spence has been accused previously of pulling out and claiming injury. B-Hop was critical of Spence when Spence pulled out of the Pacquiao fight, but I don't see something like that happening now. Both parties and fans are too invested in this fight, and although sometimes it can't be helped, either fighter pulling out now would cause massive damage to their reputation. In the ring, both fighters set traps and force the opponent into making mistakes fairly well, although I would say Crawford is a little more obvious in his intentions when attempting to set something up and can telegraph what he is looking to do, whereas Spence disguises it better, almost to the point that it looks opportunistic as opposed to intentional and pre-planned. Shawn Porter is often used as the measuring stick for Spence and Bud because Porter faced both, and many will argue that it was a different Porter that faced Bud when those two met than a Porter that shared the ring with Spence in 2019. But I'll argue that Porter brought the same intensity and energy that he always does because that's just in the man's DNA and style. I didn't see Porter take a backward step. He came with the same aggression and willingness to rumble as always. Against Spence, their fight turned into a crowd-pleasing slugfest, and the two styles guaranteed excitement. In that fight, Spence did what he always does, overcame adversity. Car crashes, retina detachments, and in-the-ring punishment that Spence often undergoes when he seemingly makes a fight more difficult than it needs to be are all hallmarks of the X factor that Spence brings to the table. He knows how to survive. His first fight back after almost buying the farm in a high-speed car crash was against formidable boxing talent Danny Garcia. No soft tune-up fights here, straight into the ring with a killer. Spence tests himself, takes the difficult challenges, and overcomes. It's not just his technical abilities in the ring that make him a winner, it's his durability and will to get over. Porter against Bud was telling also, as for most of the fight, Bud Crawford did enough to make the fight interesting, but seemed to shift gears and put it into overdrive when he learned that he might be behind on points. Then he just took Porter out. Bud enjoys the war in the ring. He seemingly thrives on the violence, and his spiteful streak is his definable X factor. He's happy to exchange on the inside with you, but he wants to hurt you and prolong your suffering if possible. He taunts you in the ring, and then when he sees that you're hurt, man, he's one of the best finishers in the game. Crawford has a killer's instinct, and that will come into play against Spence as it has come into play throughout Crawford's career. Picking a winner is tough in this one because both guys are so talented and skilled. Spence is going to be there to get hit, and I think this is where Crawford's movement will be the deciding factor. Spence's game plan will no doubt involve sucking Crawford into exchanging with him, but Crawford's speed and movement will mean he won't stay in the pocket long. Both have tremendous gas tanks, but I see Crawford turning it up on Spence in the later rounds and getting over on points. Fingers crossed the fight happens. I Don't know any of the details as of yet in terms of split. Both will see themselves as A-sides, so how they'll arrive at a deal, be it 50-50 or 60-40, will be interesting and might even tell us who wants to fight more. But if the fight is confirmed and goes ahead, I do see Crawford getting the W on points. Honestly, it could go either way. I'm just hoping it's a great fight if it can be made. Please jab that like, share, subscribe, and notification bell. Check out our Patreon page to become a Patreon family member where you'll receive some cool perks. Want some merch? We've got t-shirts to baseball caps to phone covers, from boxing to crypto and everything in between. So head on over to In Stock Shop to find something you like. You can find a link below. Life is a fight outside the ring, and I've certainly gone a few rounds. From substance abuse to depression to street fights and trouble with the law, my life has seen a lot of darkness, but I've turned my life around, and my experiences might help you to do the same if you are or have dealt with similar hardships. It's all documented in my book, How to Get Out of Life Traps, and it's available on Amazon. Just find a link below. Thank you for watching Pound for Pound TV. Please remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell for future updates. See you in the next one. Looking for an opportunity to make money? That cryptocurrency is so hot right now. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's pretty obvious that it is growing in popularity and utility, and many folks think that they have missed the boat on cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, but they couldn't be further from the truth. You can mine Bitcoin on your laptop, PC, or mobile phone if they are half decent without having to splurge on expensive mining rigs. In fact, you can do it for free. This is not a paid sponsor, simply a great opportunity and something that I'm doing. And StormGain can help you generate income using credit earned by mining online. Click the link below and start earning crypto today.